Greetings from Tokyo, greetings from Tokyo, greetings from Tokyo. I'm Trip, and welcome to the Hammer of Wrath, and welcome to the Hammer of Wrath, and welcome to the Hammer of Wrath. This week, you and I are going to discuss my YouTube journey. Let's go. Thanks for joining me in the studio. I'm Trip, and I make videos about tabletop wargaming and life in Japan. Now, normally I would open the video with some interesting fact about living in Tokyo, and then we would paint some Warhammer together. But today I thought we would do something a little different. I'm going to take you through the first year of my YouTube journey, from preparation and launch of the channel, pitfalls and early struggles, all the way up to monetization and channel growth. Now, we've just hit 5,000 subs, so there's a lot to talk about. Let's get started. I've been in the hobby for more than a decade, and for most of that time I ran a successful blog called, oddly enough, The Hammer of Wrath, where I chronicled my progress and shared it with the community. And over the last 5 or so years, I've been watching a lot of hobby content creators on YouTube, like 52 Miniatures, MS Paints, and Eons of Battle, that have really inspired the way that I hobby. And in the summer of 2022, I decided I was going to start my own YouTube channel. So I researched how to best launch a YouTube channel by watching a lot of videos from non-Warhammer creators who are very open about the trials and troubles of launching a new channel, the pitfalls that they avoided and fell into, and the best practices for launching something that would be successful. It was actually refreshing to see how honest and transparent many of those YouTube creators were about the struggles they went through in launching their channel, how much they earned, and the advice they gave was actually really invaluable. With a few important takeaways from my research, I prepared to launch the channel. The two keys here were preparedness and purpose. None of the decisions about launching the channel were made by mistake, and actually a lot of thought went into each step of the process. I wanted my channel to have a point of differentiation from a lot of the other hobby channels, and it occurred to me that being an American living in Japan was a unique situation, so I decided to leverage that. Instead of shooting my intros in a studio, I decided to shoot all my intros out and about in Tokyo, so that viewers could see a small slice of life and different parts of the city with each episode. You might also have noticed that the logo is hidden in the background of every introduction, and that's just stolen directly from Atlanta, the incredible show by Donald Glover. It's one of my absolute favorites. As I was out and about recording my intros in Tokyo, I knew that I needed to record my hobby sessions as well, so I began researching streamer camera rigs. I found this highly configurable desk stand that included multiple arms for holding things like cameras, microphones, and lighting equipment. So I ordered that from Amazon and started recording my hobby work. I've included a link to the exact unit that I use, but anything similar will do. The key here is that you want at least one arm to hold the camera so that you can record your work, and then pivot it to record your intros, and one arm to hold a microphone if you're not using a wireless mic. And no, you don't need a fancy or expensive vlogging camera to do this sort of thing. Honestly, all my hobby videos are recorded on the same cell phone that I use every day, a Google Pixel. I simply place it in the bracket, point it down on my workspace, and hit record at 4K. Now, my studio intros are a slightly different story. Having watched a lot of YouTube hobby content creators and Twitch streamers, I had a very specific idea for how I wanted my studio to look. And the first step of that was going into my closet and digging out an old DSLR. The lens on that old camera allows me to shoot with a shallow depth of field, meaning that I am in focus and everything in the background is out of focus, creating that sort of high-end streamer look. The second thing I needed to do was head on over to Amazon.com and order a few LED color-changing bulbs. I put those into small fixtures around the room, set up my lighting, and using the app that comes with those bulbs, I can control the color of the lights to change them to anything that I like. Having arranged my studio and adjusted my lighting setup and sitting a little too close to the camera in those first few videos, I settled in on the look that you see now. The final piece of the puzzle and higher production value was audio. It's easy to underestimate the importance of clean, professionally recorded audio, and a viewer can tell when something has been recorded on a very bad mic. So I went out and bought this, a $200 Bluetooth lavalier microphone that connects to either my cell phone or my DSLR. Now, I hear some of you saying, but Trip, in those first 5 videos, the audio is absolutely awful. And you'd be right. To that, I can only say that owning a $200 lavalier mic and hooking that mic up properly are 2 different things. One of the big takeaways that I learned while watching videos in preparation for the launch of the channel was that it was a good idea to start a channel with at least 5 videos. If you get someone to watch one of your videos and there's no other content on your channel, they don't stick around. So over that summer and early autumn, I began shooting and editing the 5 videos that my channel would launch with. Now, I knew I wanted those first 5 videos to be something useful, like tutorials. Say, for example, applying flawless decals, painting faux marble, or even an introduction to 3D printing. Hobbyists were more likely to click on something that would expand their skill set. With the first 5 videos and my visual branding complete, I launched the channel in December of 2022. Now, those of you unfamiliar with me may not know, but I come from a design background. I went to college for industrial and graphic design, and for many years I worked in the publishing and manga industry, and for more than 20 years I've been working in the toy industry, designing products and packaging. So I knew that visual branding was very important, and I set about creating my logo and other branding elements to launch with the channel. Watching other YouTubers like Miniac or Ninjon, I knew that I needed a specific visual branding to support the channel and make it identifiable. Now, if you pay attention to my thumbnails, you'll see very specific choices. The visual language of these thumbnails have, of course, evolved over the last year, but they predominantly have a few things in common. 1, they're always going to have the branding icon in the lower left corner, and 2, there would be no clickbait images. One of my least favorite things about YouTube are clickbait thumbnails. And although I understand why creators use them as they increase numbers, I just felt it was, beneath me. It's not a game I wanted to play, and I understood that that would affect my view counts. I was okay with that, but the trick was, of course, still creating compelling thumbnails, and fortunately in this case my experience as a graphic designer was extremely helpful. Now, you can argue that some of these thumbnails are more successful than others, but I think I've sort of struck a rhythm that captures an interesting visual along with a very simple message to get people to click on the video. I mean, this one worked, right? Having learned from my research that it takes a long time for monetization to be activated on a new channel, I wanted a second revenue stream. So on the day that I launched the channel, I set up a Patreon account. Now, I didn't expect that to get any traction until the channel was well established. But I wanted it in place so that when people felt they were ready to donate, they could. I also established a private Discord server as a benefit to Patreon membership. My other big takeaway from all the research that I did was that regular content was the key to success, or at least channel growth. So I intended to create a new video every week. But on my very first try, that went right out the window. My first 5 videos were actually performing very well, and most of them got 400 to 500 views, and the introduction to 3D printing video actually shot up past 1,000 views pretty quickly. So I wanted to tackle something a little bigger that might draw more attention to the channel, and decided to print and paint a giant space marine. Now, as you can imagine, that took a little longer than a week, and 3.5 weeks later, I posted my next video. Despite the delay, it was hard to argue with the results because the video went semi-viral and hit 10,000 views within 24 hours. Now, the semi-viral success of that video was a bit of a double-edged sword in that it was very encouraging, but at the same time, it led me to the false sense that I was onto something and that from there forward, all of my videos were going to track in this amazing upward trajectory. My next 4 videos, however, were the exact opposite, and it was a very humbling experience. Now, I expected some of them, like how to paint an HQ unit in under 2 hours, or how to design and print your own modular paint racks to perform, or at least find an audience, but they didn't. It was at this time that I also started my Cursed City series, which was the worst performing video I had created to date. But knowing that that's a niche game, I didn't expect it to post incredible numbers. The upside to these 4 failures was that it let me realize that I couldn't allow metrics to dictate what I would and would not paint on the channel. If that were the case, this would be a Space Marine only channel, and that would just drive me insane. Now, while some of these videos did not perform the way that I had hoped, the channel was seeing overall growth, and to my surprise, quickly hit the 1,000 subscriber mark in under a month. Now, if you know anything about YouTube and monetization, there are 2 main criteria. 1, you must have 1,000 subscribers, and 2, you have to have 4,000 cumulative watched hours between all of your videos. As encouraging as it was to hit that first criteria so quickly, it took the channel quite a while to hit the second. But fortunately, it was during this time when we were working towards that second goal that we got our first Patreon member, Adam Fox. I have to tell you, as encouraging as it was to hit the 1,000 subscriber mark so quickly and to have some of my videos go semi-viral, it paled in comparison to the idea that someone was willing to give me their hard-earned money so that I could continue my hobby. It was an incredible feeling. I continued to create bi-weekly videos and load them to the channel. All of them had began performing much better than I had expected, and I was watching my subscriber count grow. I made sure to include content that involved the community, like the video in which I let the internet decide how I was going to paint my entire Necron army. I was making a point to build an active and engaged community both on YouTube and Patreon. I didn't want this to be a one-way street. I wanted to be able to speak to the viewers and have them speak to me. By mid-February, the Patreon was really starting to grow, and we got our first gold tier members, Matt Mitchum and The Rascal, and our first silver tier member, Cody Newton. Now, like many creators on Patreon, I created a tiered system with different benefits, and these members were the first few people who saw fit to give me their money for extra access to my time and knowledge. But more importantly, it allowed me to speak directly to the people who were watching the channel and get their feedback. Now, beyond that, of course, the Patreon has grown into this incredible hobby community in which we encourage each other every day with our works in progress, honest and kind feedback, and ideas for new and incredible hobby projects. I know I've mentioned this in other videos, but it is the single thing that I am most proud of. I experimented with other video concepts like building $5 Blade Guard veterans, and I even attempted to replicate the success of my large Space Marine statue by creating a large Sister of Battle. Spoiler alert, that didn't exactly pan out. And while the channel was still getting excellent views, I was actually struggling to meet that second criteria of 4,000 cumulative hours watched. However, all of that changed when I reached out to Grey Tide Studios. They create custom STL bits for Space Marines and had just launched their Eternal Pilgrims pack. As a Dark Angels player, I was very excited about that, so I reached out to them, showed them the channel, and they very graciously agreed to partner with me. They sent me their entire bits collection for free, and I had an absolute blast printing and customizing my Space Marines to look more like Dark Angels. Now, because I am in Tokyo, my videos go live in the US about the time that I go to bed. So imagine my surprise when I woke up the next morning only a few hours later to find that the video had already accrued 25,000 views and was climbing rapidly. Now, because of the wild success of that video and the view count just kept going up and up, I attempted to figure out what exactly it is that I did in order to go viral. Now, the YouTube creator tools are actually really granular when it comes to data analytics, and I poured over all of the data assets available through the Creator Studio. I checked the link sources, I even reached out to Grey Tide Studios to see if they had sent some traffic my way, and at one point, I even consulted with ChatGPT to see if the AI could figure out why it was this one particular video went viral. But I couldn't figure out why the algorithm decided to take that one video and promote it over all the others I had done. Fortunately, the massive and growing view count on that video propelled us well beyond the second criteria needed for monetization on YouTube. And in June of 2023, we were partnered with YouTube and the channel was monetized. Over the next several months, I watched the channel grow, my view counts increase, and my subscriber numbers rise. The Patreon also continued to flourish and quickly shot up past 25 members. Now, that may not seem like a lot to most, but as someone who didn't expect anybody to join the Patreon, the numbers were really encouraging for me. So, in the summer of 2023, I started my most challenging series yet, the monthly Combat Patrol Challenge. As someone who plays more Combat Patrol than regular 40K, I was excited about the idea of being able to field more than one kind of army. And as a content creator, I was excited about the variety that would give to the channel. So I set about finishing a Combat Patrol every month. Now, some of those videos have performed better than others. Of course, the Tau Combat Patrol is never going to get the view count that a Space Marine Combat Patrol will. But overall, I'm proud of the series and it's been greatly rewarding. With the exception of December's Combat Patrol being a little bit late due to the holidays and a really nasty case of the flu, I've been able to complete a new Combat Patrol every month. The series will continue until June of 2024, in which case we will have completed 12 Combat Patrols in 12 months. Now, as the channel grew and gained more traction, that allowed me to reach out to companies that I admired and form partnerships. Companies like Epic Basing, Grey Tide Studios, and Baron of Dice. Now, to be clear, these are not monetary compensated sponsorships. I partner with these other companies, they send me their product for free, and I endorse and use their product. This, of course, would be different for a larger YouTube channel like Squidmar Miniatures, which I'm sure not only gets the product for free, but is also compensated monetarily. But because of the size of my channel, these are the deals that I am able to make. And at this point, the channel is large enough that other companies have reached out to me in order to form partnerships. And at this point, I have rejected every offer that has been submitted. Suffice to say that the first company to ever reach out for a sponsorship with the channel wanted to sell erectile dysfunction pills. All of that leads us to now, February of 2024. The channel has been up for just a little over 1 year, and I've seen continuous growth on the platform. Now, some weeks the videos have performed poorly, and other weeks the videos have performed very well, but overall the numbers are encouraging. And again, the support that I have seen on Patreon has just been exceptional. Now, with all of that said, one of the things I appreciated most when doing my research before I launched the channel was how transparent many of the YouTube creators were with how much effort went into launching a channel, how much effort was needed to maintain the channel, and exactly how much they earned doing it. So, you and I are going to go through month by month, and I will show you exactly what I earned on both YouTube and Patreon. Because the channel was not monetized until June of 2023, there was no revenue from YouTube until that point. But looking at the Patreon numbers, we can see that it earned $0 in December with 0 members, and in January of 2023, it made just under $1 from our first member, minus fees and taxes, of course. And it wasn't until mid-February that we got additional members to the channel. So in February 2023, the Patreon made $24. In March, it earned $29, and in April, $38. It continued to grow in May, earning $45, and after my first viral video, you can see a marked increase in June to over $75. This, of course, was really encouraging, and you can see from the graph this trend continues to the point where it stabilizes, and the Patreon is earning just a little over $110 a month. There's a dip at the end of the graph there because I took these images before January had finished collecting the monthly dues. Jumping over to YouTube, looking at June of 2023, which was the first full month in which the channel was monetized, you can see that it earned just over $53 in ad revenue. You can see clearly on the chart where the revenue spikes anytime a new video premieres and falls off in between those videos. My peak single day earnings topped out at about $7.40, and this is the reason why so many creators put out videos at least every week. more new content means more views, which means more ad revenue. July earned just under $63, with my peak daily earning hitting $8.46. August earned $68.75, with my peak being $6.85 in a single day. September earned just over $55, with a high of $7.30. October netted us just under $50, with a peak of $6.22. And November earned us just under $50 as well, with a high of $3.65. And finally, in December, because I only had one video thanks to the flu and the holidays, we're in just over $43 with a peak of $2.71 in a single day. And switching over here to the all-time views, you can see that the ad revenue on YouTube has generated $469.44. If we combine that with the total payout from Patreon of $903.84, we're left with a total of $1,373.28. Now, divided by 12 months is around $115 a month. So, clearly not enough to live on by any stretch of the imagination, but definitely more than enough to keep me in all the Warhammer models I could ever want. In fact, it's because of the support from YouTube ads and my incredible patrons that I'm able to purchase a Combat Patrol every month or pre-order things like the 10th edition starter box. And there you have it. Complete and total transparency and exactly how much effort was needed to launch and maintain a YouTube channel, all of its trials and tribulations, and exactly how much it earned. If you are at all interested in starting a YouTube hobby channel, or any sort of YouTube channel for that matter, I fully encourage you to do so. Now, I can't say that the monetary rewards are amazing, but the community that I've built over on Patreon and the body of work that I've created have been incredibly rewarding. If you'd like to support the channel and like to see more videos about Warhammer or life in Japan, please like, comment, and subscribe. That's going to drive us to the front page of YouTube and help grow our audience. Of course, you can always join our Patreon, linked in the description below. Joining the Patreon at any level grants you access to our private Discord server, where every day like-minded hobbyists share kind and honest feedback to help each other become better at what we do. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video. It was my genuine pleasure to make and share it with you, and I'll see you on the next one.